Honorable. Yes, Honorable Prime Minister. I have about 3 questions for you, really. My name is Imran Burjan from Sugar City FM. And first question, were the government or SIDF in negotiations to buy Christophe Harbour? If so, have those negotiations concluded or stopped, and at what price? Second question, does Christophe Harbour own or lease part of the Southeast Peninsula Road?
Say that again, sorry?
Does Christophe Harbour own or lease part of the Southeast Peninsula Road? And my final question, which is actually on energy. Is it possible for us, the nation of St. Kitts and Nevis, to obtain wind turbines or solar panels to reduce the pain of bills by SCALEC, if not in the homes of the public, in the government buildings? Is that in the near future, or has it ever been across the board?
Right, let's start with the last part of your questions. First, the question on wind turbines and solar energy, solar panels, solar energy panels, this is something that this government has initiated now for almost 2 years. This very building that you're in is powered by solar energy. Because the Taiwanese, about 2 Decembers ago, came here with a group and presented to this government its first pilot project with regard to solar energy powering government buildings. And so this is already ongoing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Just in December of last year, there was an entire suite of street lights that were erected from Sandy Point to St. Paul's, all of them powered by solar energy, again, with the auspices and the very kind support of the Taiwanese government and the ambassador resident. And if you're following through on what's happening, the airport is just getting itself ready for a 1 megawatt solar energy system with panels that will be providing energy for the airport entirely and would feed the extra energy it would have captured from the sun into the national grid so that it would help, hopefully, to reduce the cost of delivery of energy to consumers by SCALEC. And we are hoping that, in fact, the government is having before it at this very moment a proposal. Just on Monday of this week, the Cabinet received a presentation from a potential investor and developer who was presenting a possible 34 megawatt solar energy system that would feed into the national grid and hopefully bring down the cost of electricity that is being sold by SCALEC. So it is an ongoing developmental agenda that we are following with regard to solar energy. With regard to wind turbines, as you're aware, we did have a wind turbine project down in the area of Bellevue. I think the negotiators, I'm told, the investors and developers, I'm told, are very close to finalizing that particular initiative. But we believe that it has gone on far too long. And we are at the point of maybe looking at other possibilities in this area, because this has taken quite a long time to be concluded. You asked the question about the SIDF and the Southeast Peninsula. The SIDF government has not been in negotiation with anyone, no entity at all, to buy Christophe Harbour. We would love to buy Christophe Harbour if we could, because the Southeast Peninsula area that is now described as Christophe Harbour development is one of the most attractive areas in St. Kitts and Nevis. It houses a lot of our beaches, beautiful beaches. It's where our birds nestle. The fauna and flora there have all been very spectacular, and it is an area that is being developed with a very high sustainability in terms of the environment being concerned. And so we continue to cherish what we have at Christopher Harbour in the Southeast Peninsula. But sad to say, the government is not yet well-resourced. Maybe within the next year or two, after we would have had full economic recovery, we would be resourced enough to do it. But at the moment, we are not able to do that. I understand that the SIDF, together with an interested partner, was in negotiation with the owners of Christopher Harbour to get involved in acquiring it. I understand that that has not been pursued, and so the Christopher Harbour project is being looked at by other entities. Let me explain that sometime last year, I believe it must have been in a press conference of this kind, it was revealed that the owners of Christopher Harbour, who are the Kiowa Development Partners, who owned an investment project in Kiowa Island of South Carolina, and also a project called Dunesburg Development in Ireland, and also Christopher Harbour in St. Kitts. The owners of that development company, or holding, I should say, they seem to have had some personal family dispute. And the matter went to arbitration for settlement. In the arbitration, it would appear the decision was taken that one member of the owners, a family member who is a cousin of the major shareholder, the smaller shareholder, was given the opportunity by arbitration to buy out the larger shareholder of that entire development in Ireland, in Kiowa Island of South Carolina, and their holdings here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It was during that period when that smaller shareholder, a cousin of the family, was seeking to take possession of the entire family holdings, that he had a number of potential buyers to look at acquiring the Christopher Harbour development. And so the government met with no less than about 3 potential investors in this area. Four potential investors, one of which wanted to do a partnership agreement with the SIDF, or the parent of SIDF, which is the National Bank Trust. But I understand that another potential buyer, one who was interested in Dunesburg development in Ireland, and also in the Kiowa Island development, and naturally would also be involved with this Christopher Harbour development, that particular investment group is in the process of acquiring the entire holdings of the Kiowa partners, including the Christopher Harbour development. So government is not involved except to be notified that these potential buyers were negotiating, and got government's reaction as to what government's reaction would be if they were to acquire the particular development. On the part of the question as to whether Christopher Harbour owns or leases part of the Southeast Peninsula Road, I'm not familiar with that. That is something I'll have to check out. But I've never been told that. As far as I know, the Southeast Peninsula, the land that was identified for the Southeast Peninsula Road was advanced to the government under the former administration by the owners of the land for the construction of the road, because by putting in the road, it would then have made it possible for the lands to become lands for development. And as a result of that, the owners ceded some of their lands so that the road could be constructed, which at the end of the day would have increased the value of their own property that they own. But to say that Christopher Harbour owns peace or leases peace, I don't know. As far as I know, the road belongs to the government after it had acquired the right to build the road on lands which were originally private people's lands.
About that, and thanks for notifying us that you don't know much about that, about the land being sold or what's not being owned. But I
don't know much about it. I just
much about it, yeah.
What I know.
Well, that's nice for me to know. At least you're educating me on that part. Well, I have a simple question for you as well.
Yes.
This might be my last.
Yes.
On the ongoing back
Don't
and
make it your last.
well, thank you very much. On the ongoing battle between the two parties per se and what's going on, shouldn't the main objective to be about the people instead of the slandering of each other and what's not? Especially about Medicare, funds of the hospital especially.
Yes.
If you realize you have most pharmacies in Singis have been, as we can say, closed, shut down, or have to move to a different location or is no more. That is something that is going to affect the people of Singis and Nevis. Not only Singis, but Nevis as well. Because if you don't have any Medicare or medical for...
Pharmacies?
Pharmacies, yeah. If you don't have any medical supplies for the people,
Yes.
it will cause lots of disturbance. Your health can get very, some old, as the elderly people, I won't say old,
Yes.
as yourself.
Yes. Yes.
But they will not be able to be treated properly.
Yes.
So we'll all have to be flying out, which is costing money again. So we'll be more on people's pocket.
They don't have money.
That's true. Touche.
Anyway. I think I get the gist of what you're asking. You're asking what the government is doing to ensure that health care facilities are available to our people at affordable cost, if I were to reshape your own question. Sorry? Right? Good. And you preambled it about the battle between the parties. There's no battle, really, unless battle is in the context of political competition for a government. And again, slandering and so each other, that does not come from the Labour Party at all. I don't think that you would read into the records anybody in the Labour Party being sued since I have been in office. None has, because we are very particular and careful with what we say. On the other hand, we have been the subject of that kind of nastiness, I call it, on a regular basis. But we have, wherever it happens and we think it is too blatant, for example, I myself have had recently to sue the Democrat for very nasty statements that were made, and won in court as well. I guess you would not have heard anything about it, because you see, it is the Prime Minister winning. Once the Prime Minister is on the receiving end, you hear all about it. So, but I make that point because we do not get involved in that kind of slander and so forth. But the government is committed to ensure that we look after the health of our people. I believe that the Minister of Health only recently was on radio outlining the urgency with which the ministry is pursuing the National Health Insurance Policy. And that is making it possible for our citizens, whether elderly citizens or young citizens or just residents in our country, where they're able to access medical care that is available and affordable. And where it is not available here, we, through the National Health Insurance Scheme, would ensure that it is available overseas and it is cost-effective at the same time. This is something that means a lot to me personally as a medical doctor. That's my profession before I got into this combative political game. So I, in particular, am very conscious of these things. And I can say to you that even though there are pharmacies that are closing their doors out there in the private sector, that's because they choose to do so. Because I don't see if there can be any pharmacy, especially given the challenges that we face today, would not be making enough profit to keep their doors open. I myself was involved in that kind of activity before I became the Prime Minister when I was practicing, and it is a business that you should not lose anything from. And so if they are choosing to close, it's because of the competition, because I think more and more are opening, even though some are closing because they're losing the competition, others are winning the competition, so their doors are being kept open. And so the answer to this, the short answer, is that the government is committed to continue to ensure that medical supplies are available for our people, whether in the public sector or in the private sector. And if those in the private sector choose to close their pharmacies, I believe they have very good reasons so to do. It has nothing at all to do with the government.